Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another video on the channel where today we have got a ultimate defending guide. Now defending as a whole is a very large thing to cover, so we've tried to cover it as best as we can, but a lot of these like defending techniques in this video could easily get their own video. You know, we could do a video on how to defend the wings, how to defend the middle of the pitch, how to defend in the defense, you know, how to use the keeper. Like, there's lots of things in it, so I've tried to cover it as best as I can and using all the techniques I can, but it might not be as in detail as maybe you would like. So if you'd like to see some individual defending technique videos, make sure you do drop a thumbs up on the video and hit that subscribe button as well if you are new to the channel and finding these tutorials useful. But starting in with the first thing, now I thought the best thing to do is to start with your team, because obviously when defending, your personnel, your tactics, your formation, all that is key before we even get into the gameplay. Now this is my actual team. This is the formation that I am playing at the minute. I get a lot of people ask, what am I playing? This is my actual team at the moment, and this is my actual team that I am using. So it's a pretty good squad. You know, I've obviously got a great attack, I've got a good midfield that I like, and a pretty meta defense. However, I do want to upgrade my defense, because myself included, I'm finding with this defense it is a little bit tricky to defend given some of the attackers that people have nowadays. And that's important. Obviously your personnel is key. You need to have players that suit this style, and you can see we've got a lot of pace on our defense. You know, put a lot of shadow cards on them. Obviously Semedo is very quick, but they're all very meta defenders, but now we need to upgrade them and get some better defenders. So your personnel is key. You need to have quick players. It's just kind of a thing you need in FIFA. You know, you can't not have slow players in your team, because especially given the fact that everyone's got super fast players nowadays. Moving into my instructions now, it's also key on how you play. If you want like a more solid foundation, you know, you can see my defenders, I have them on stay back while attacking and overlap, which means I've always got a solid stable back four. So that's going to help me defensively, because it's not going to mean that my wings are never going to be exposed, because my fullbacks are always going to be in position. So that's already given me a head start, because a lot of people like to play on balance, which is absolutely fine because it gives you that extra bit attacking going forwards. But for me, I already find this formation is quite attacking, so I'd rather have the fullbacks on stay back while attacking. And then obviously having Alan on drop between defenders gives me that extra defense, especially if someone is countering me. I already have my back four. Alan then just comes out of that back five, which it is defending if you're getting countered, and then he's the guy that we need to control when we're attacking. So your personnel and your tactics are really important before we get into the gameplay. You need to have a good set of tactics, instructions, formations and personnel that suit your play style and that are going to help you defensively. You don't want to be too attacking in your instructions, in your formations, and especially in your personnel. You know, in your defenders, you need to make sure that you don't have any players that have like high attacking work rates, especially at centre back. You don't want to have players that are on like high medium, because those players are going to often be out of position, especially when you're defending. You know, it's going to create gaps in your defense, because they're going to jump up the field trying to win the ball, and if they miss, you know, that creates a massive hole for your opponent to get into. So you want to try and avoid having high attacking work rate defenders if you can. Try and have medium, you know, medium high is ideal, low high, that sort of thing. But with that being said, going into some of the gameplay and some of the defending things that we use. Now first off, we have got defending in the wing. Now in this example, you can see he has no options to cut the ball back to. You can see in the middle of the pitch that we've highlighted in the middle of the box, if we had a couple of players in there to cut that ball back to, we would be in trouble. But you can see that he doesn't have any players in the box, and there's no way he's going to shoot from that angle and score, especially in this game. Surely he can't score from that angle. But I know that he's not going to cut that ball back, because he's got no one to cut it back to, and he can't shoot. So his only two options are either to go backwards or to try and run down the corner. And if he tries and runs the corner, he's sharpening the angle. So all I have to do, because I'm already running in that direction, he's essentially turning in the direction that I'm running. So it's just physics that I'm eventually going to run into him and tackle him out for a corner. So the only way he keeps that ball in play is he has to turn around and do so. And you can see when we do run it on, that's exactly what he does. I read him perfectly and he turns around. So that's the key when defending, especially on the wing. It's kind of like you have to make sure that you're thinking logically about where the opponent could go, and you can see in a couple of examples previous to that, that's exactly what we did. Now defending in the centre, now this is an important one. You can see in this example here, we have Kevin De Bruyne on the ball, and in this, it does show that having the right personnel is important, but it is not always essential. In this instance, we're using Kevin De Bruyne in that central midfield spot, which is a good place for him to play, I think, this year in FIFA. Now you can see the 2 red arrows are possible passes on, so you can see he can pass that ball to his left, but we have 2 players in there, and that is a very dangerous pass, because by the time that ball gets to him, there's a good chance that we could intercept him and take that ball off him. He obviously can't pass the ball forwards because we've got De Bruyne right in the passing lane, so his only option to pass the ball is to go backwards using that green arrow, and what he decides to do eventually is to go forward. So you have to also have a sense of risk reward. Now in this case, the risk for us is very little, because obviously you can see how many players we've got behind the ball, and the fact that he doesn't have any passes on except the one backwards, which isn't going to hurt us. So us going in to try and win this ball here is very, very low risk. And the thing that you also need to remember when you're defending, always hold the left trigger, always jockey, never sprint in midfield. If you sprint in midfield, that is the biggest no-no you can do when you're defending. You have to always, really not just in midfield, even in defense, the only time you should ever really sprint is if the ball is in behind and you actually have to sprint to try and catch up. But if the ball is in front of you, never ever sprint. You don't need to sprint if the ball is in front. Like in this instance, the play is in front of me, so I can read it by just holding the left trigger and jockeying. And you can see that's exactly what we do when we do run it on. You can see we read it perfectly, and then we just go in there and tackle. And it's also, as I said, it's that element of risk reward. It's knowing when you can go in and get the tackle and when it be low risk. And you see on this occasion, De Bruyne intercepts the ball again, and we actually do get a goal off it. So reading the passing lanes is very important, but it's just something you have to do via practice. Again, with Kante intercepting that ball really good. Now this is another aspect of defending, because it does fall under the category in a sense. It is using your keeper effectively. Now this is the best example that I could find of me in recent gameplay using the keeper effectively. Now obviously people use the keeper to fake, you know, they'll pump fake the keeper, so they'll bring the keeper out and then they'll come in back, they'll bring him back in to try and force their opponent to maybe try and chip the ball, and it's just mind games. But these are all things that you need to learn how to be able to do if you want to get to that top level of FIFA. But this was probably the best example. Now you can see 2 highlighted circles. It is Neymar against Laporte. So in a sprint race, obviously your winner is very obviously Neymar. So if we don't ring the keeper out here, you can see the open space, you can see where the pink arrow is running to. That's probably about where Neymar is going to get to before he then decides to strike that either near post or at the far post. So if we don't bring the keeper out, obviously we haven't got a full, the difference is here, we haven't got a fullback to bring across to cover, we haven't got anything else that we can do. So our only option is to bring the keeper out. If we let him run into that space, Neymar will finish that ball, you know, especially if the guy's a decent player, knows how to finish. If he just hits that ball across the goal, he will score. So the only option we have is to call the keeper out and just try our luck and just see if it works. Now obviously holding the Y button down on the Xbox, holding the Y button down is how we call the keeper out, and you just hold it, and you can see when we do eventually run it on, and that's exactly what we did. We ran our keeper out, he then slides and we take the ball out, because at the end of the day we had no other option there, you know. And if he chips the ball and gets past us, fair play, and if he scores, you know, you just have to say fair play, it was a great pass, good finish. If he misses that and we take him out like we did, then we've saved ourselves a goal, because there's no way we're going to win that sprint battle against Neymar. And then probably the most important thing, how to defend at the back. This is the thing that I think most people struggle with, and this is a perfect example of how to defend at the back. And this is probably the thing that you need to try and master the most. And people always say that you don't defend at the back. I always think you defend from the front as a team. You should always defend with your strikers and then your midfielders, and then you should only defend with your defenders when you need to. You can see in this example, we have to defend with our defenders because our midfield is not there. So we have to defend with our defenders. You know, you can see we've got 2 defenders there in close support. Again, the only pass he has on is to the guy who's just given him the pass. But I know that he's going to try and take this behind, because he's looking at my defender thinking, it's Laporte. If I just knock it past him, I've got the strength, it's Ronaldo, and I've got the pace to be able to finish him. Now, the thing that a lot of people do in this instance is why a lot of people get it wrong, is this is where a lot of people are again sprinting in defense, and that is a big no-no. You have to, in this occasion, just be holding the left trigger. You only need to sprint if he knocks the ball in behind. If he doesn't knock that ball in behind first time, you don't need to sprint. You just need to hold the left trigger and you just need to shadow his movements. And the biggest thing that you cannot do in defense is press that B button to try and tackle. If you try and tackle here, you might win the ball and you might get it right and it might work on this occasion. But so many times I see people try and lunge into tackles and they try and win the ball and they miss, and then that's it. If I lunge into this tackle here and I miss, it's game over. Ronaldo's going to get in behind. Look at all the space he's got. He's going to find a finish, and it's going to be a goal. So the biggest no-no you can do in defending is sprinting and is trying to press the B button to tackle. Even in midfield, you need to just, that B button, you just never need to pass. Because the thing is, if you miss and you try and tackle someone and you miss, it takes your player out the game completely. So you just need to almost just run into the player, and that's all you need to do. Don't ever try and tackle. And you can see when we run it on, we're not sprinting, we're just jockeying, and then we eventually snuff the attack out. And you can see a few more occasions here where we're not sprinting in defense. You can see that we're just jockeying, and we're just getting ourselves in position, and then we're just clearing the ball very, very easily. Again, we're just jockeying there, and again, just clearing the ball away. Next example, again, we're just jockeying in that midfield position. Now this position is key. This is a position that a lot of people find themselves in as well, and this is the last example that we do have. Now this is an example of like a completely risk-free challenge. Now you can see again, I think that is Laporte, who we've got the arrow on aiming towards the ball. Now this is a risk-free challenge. I end up going in with Laporte and winning the ball here. You can see the players that we've highlighted on his team, he has no passes on here. His passes are only backwards, and to be fair, a lot of his players are marked anyway, so the only option he has really is to try and knock it into that space between my centre back and my left back. Now if I go into a tackle there and I miss, I can just use my left back, and you can see we've just covered and marked round, and he can just come around and cover that space if Laporte does miss. So the fact that he's got no one to pass the ball to, and if we miss, we've got a player that's there to cover. That's the difference between this one and the previous one. Is the previous one, if we'd have gone in with Laporte, we had no one to cover. If we go in here, we can just switch to our left back and use our left back to cover the space while the centre back gets back in position. You can see when we do run it on, we do end up winning the tackle, and that is a completely risk-free challenge. So the biggest thing with defending is it's understanding the risk and reward. It's understanding when you can go into a challenge and when you can't. But it's like anything, it's just practice. This was not the most in-depth guide because it's obviously a lot to cover. So if you do want to see some more in-depth guides and go into more detail on how to do these tactics effectively and these techniques, make sure you do drop a thumbs up on the video if you want to see that. Make sure you hit the subscribe button as well if you are new to the channel and found the content super useful. But that is all for today, guys. Have an awesome day. I'm out.